There's been mixed reaction to how these election results are shaping up. For more, let's bring in former Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi. He's now a senator for Florence and the leader of the liberal Italia Viva party. It's good to have you, sir. While it's not the first time the, quote, far right has been in government in modern Italian history, this is the first government led by the far right since World War II. The Brothers of Italy party and its coalition partners, as Barbie suggested, came in well ahead of the centre-left. Why, sir?
Good evening. But I think in Italy, as you said very clearly before, we change the prime minister every year, unfortunately, because this is too much. And in 75 years, we change more or less 68, 69 government. So we need a change of rules to give and guarantee stability. But personally, frankly speaking, I was against Giorgia Meloni. So I'm not the best friend, and we grew up together in politics, but we are and will be rival always. At the same time, I think that is not a danger for Italian democracy. She is my rival, I'm rival. We will continue to fight each other, but the ideas are now there is a risk of fascism in Italy is absolutely a fake news. She won election, particularly because populism a lot of times won in Italy. She have a majorities government, majorities coalition, and probably she will be, I think, next month, the next prime minister. And but I think there is not a risk for Western alliance. There is not a risk for democracy. There is not a risk for everything. That is very important because I fought against her, but at the same time, I think there is not a danger for fascism in Italy.
Well, your analysis and insight is really important because many people are concerned that there is a road towards fascism at this point. So let's just discuss what a government led or a government made up of this coalition and led by Meloni might look like. Voter turnout was down about 10% from last election. So let's be quite clear. Those who did vote voted for change, voted from the sort of continuity that you and others have represented in the recent past. So what does this vote, what does this change mean, practically speaking? And for the benefit of our international audience, let's talk specifically with regard to Italy's position, for example, within Europe.
I think that, first of all, there is not a change in the position of Italy about Russian crisis and the Ukrainian war. Please, that is the first point. Giorgia Meloni was the first who support the position of Prime Minister Draghi in a very strong alliance with President Biden and the others member of alliance. About Europe, yes, I attacked in electoral campaign Giorgia Meloni for her position about Europe. She used to say we have to change everything in Europe, but that is a very good position only for social media, for TikTok, for Instagram, and for Twitter. Then when she will be prime minister, when she will understand there is in the wallet of Italian family, in Italian community, 209 billion euro who come from Next Generation EU, the plan for resilience of the European Union, she will change ideas. So I believe, unfortunately, we have to change Italian legislation to guarantee more stability to government. But I'm very, I was very aggressive, and she was aggressive about the position in economy, also because you know that everywhere there is problem for inflation, cost of energy, situation of families. You know, in Italy is particularly true because our companies pay for energy 10 times the American companies. That is a historical problem of energy in Italy. But I don't believe the international alliance in Europe and in NATO will be worried for what could happen. No problem from Italy. Of course, I'm sad because she became a prime minister, but I defend Italian democracy.
Okay.
That is very important.
That's interesting. So what you're saying is that you personally don't see a risk to Italy's position with regard the EU, and certainly not with regard Russia, because the outgoing Prime Minister Mario Draghi, of course, took a strong stand against the Russian invasion and helped craft EU sanctions in the fallout. You're saying you do not expect Meloni, or you expect Meloni to continue this stance, correct?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Also because I think Mario Draghi was very strong in the foreign policies, but also in the economy recovery. So I believe the legacy of Mario is so important for everyone. Of course, frankly speaking, I think she's worse than Mario Draghi. I think Mario Draghi was absolutely better than Giorgia Meloni and other people.
Right.
But unfortunately, populists of the Five-Star Movement decided to vote against confiance for Draghi.
Let me move you on, because just a couple of days ahead of this election, Ursula von der Leyen commented on the prospect of a Meloni-Salvini government. This is the head of the European Commission, of course. And she said this, and I want to get your response to this. If things go in the difficult direction in Italy, I have spoken about Hungary and Poland earlier, the European Commission has the tools needed. Now, those who are in support of Meloni and her coalition have frankly criticised the Commission and Ursula von der Leyen for sort of threatening Italy were the result of the election to be what we expect it to be. What do you make of that intervention from Ursula von der Leyen?
I think that intervention wasn't decisive for election. But frankly speaking, you know, I'm not very diplomatic and I speak very frankly. I think that was a wrong statement from Ursula von der Leyen. Let me be more clear. Stupid decision of Ursula von der Leyen to enter 2 days before election in a debate who belong to Italian people. So I believe in the United States of Europe. I believe in the direct election of President of European Commission. I have a dream, families and parties around Europe with the same ideals, the same flag. So I'm very supporter of United States of Europe, exactly the opposite of Giorgia Meloni, because she's a sovereignist and I'm pro-Europe. But exactly for that, I think the decision of Ursula von der Leyen as President of Commission enter inside the debate in Italian politics, that was a mistake. I think that mistake wasn't crucial for victory of Giorgia Meloni, but it's not a crime, it's a mistake, as an ancient French diplomat said some centuries ago. It's not a crime, it's a mistake.
Many years ago. Thank you for that. It's good to have you on, sir. And just to remind people, the Italian economy is in worrying shape. Sky-high debt and the 10-year bond yield is widening. Previous governments have left Italy in this position. It is yet to be seen how Meloni will cope with that. We'll have you back on, sir, as we move into what is a new era for Italy. You can get more at cnn.com/Europe.